A soul for a soul, yes. Throw her over the cliff, you monster.
From the Marvel Cinematic Universe, I'm so excited to welcome here to Edmonton Expo the incredible Sean Gunn and Ross Marquand.
Thanks for having us, Edmonton.
Ça va? No, that's Quebec.
This is like a rock and roll concert.
How do you say how you doing in Alberta? How you doing? Okay, great.
Both of you must get some incredible stuff coming up to your autograph booths. What's like the coolest thing that you've had someone bring up to your tables?
I've had so much. Yeah,
Well, the weirdest thing is, and this isn't the first time this happened to me, but last weekend I was at a convention where a woman had me sign her forearm to then get my signature tattooed on her arm.
Oh, wow. Okay, yep.
Which is unnerving.
It's because it has to be the
say the
perfect
least.
signature, right?
Yeah.
Did you just
Yeah,
mess
I
it
did
up a little bit?
No, I did my best. I mean, I don't know. It's a lot of pressure. And this is true. I'm going to go ahead and say it. And it's like, okay. So I've done this before, right? Where somebody's gotten it tattooed, but it's usually someone with tons of tattoos, and it's like Rooker and me or something under pictures of our face or whatever. But this woman she had no tattoos except my signature on one arm and Guy Fieri's on the other arm.
dude.
That's incredible.
And I love her. I hope she doesn't think I'm making fun of her if she hears this. I love her. It's great. But yeah, that is the most bizarre thing that has ever happened to me.
One, how did she meet Guy Fieri? Two, what do you have in common with Guy Fieri? Like, it's just like, you have nothing in common with Guy Fieri. That's amazing.
I don't know. I bet your trash can nachos are
I
unbelievable.
was going to say, yeah. You've obviously never had my chicken wings.
I haven't.
No.
Yeah. I think the coolest thing I've ever received was a few years back in Kansas City. There's a gentleman by the name of Alan who is a master Lego builder, and he's competed in several competitions, like Lego building competitions, and he made a half Aaron from The Walking Dead, half Red Skull bust in Legos, but like a portrait, like it was like 2-dimensional but 3-dimensional, if that makes any sense. And it was the coolest thing I think I've ever received. It's just the nicest gift. So yeah, Alan Hickman, #1 draft brick is his Instagram if you want to check him out. He's awesome.
The MCU is a pretty big universe, so I was wondering, what is your guys' like favorite characters from the whole MCU?
Red Skull.
I'm really sad that there's not one Red Skull Yoda take.
A soul for a soul, yes. Throw her over the cliff, you monster.
I always say Loki because I think Tom just played the hell out of that role, but also I'm always a big fan of anti-heroes and villains who are kind of, are they good, are they bad? It's just way more interesting to me. And I think I'm so grateful they wrote more challenging content for Chris Evans as Captain, because as a kid I always thought Captain America was too perfect. He was like unknowingly so, and I think that there's not much you can do with that character, But luckily, the Russo brothers are to thank, I think, for Winter Soldier, and then of course Civil War. That they gave him so much more darkness and edge, but I think that's why Loki is such an interesting character, because he's so much more complex than the rest of them,
Ross, you had a chance to take on a whole bunch more Marvel characters with the release of X-Men 97, which is absolutely incredible, by the way. Great work on that show. What was getting to dive into some of those, specifically voice roles, were like for you? Because those are iconic shoes to step into.
Yeah, that's literally the first version of that show from 30 years ago is the reason why I became an actor. Cal Dodd's performance as Wolverine, and I see my Wolverine right there, nice. He brought so much pathos and so much sadness and anger and complexity to that role.
To a kid's show.
To a kid's show, exactly. And then I think that's why that show was so revolutionary, because for the first time in my entire childhood, we were watching Tailspin and Animaniacs and Darkwing Duck, all of which are amazing, but it was the first time that they said, we're going to treat these kids like young adults. And that's why that show has maintained its viewership and its popularity for 30 some odd years. But stepping into those shoes it was very frightening for me personally, because you never want to be the person that lets down yourself or the fans and not do as good of a job as they did 30 years ago. And Cedric Smith is actually a Canadian. He played Charles Xavier first. And I believe he's about 82, 83 years old. So I don't know. I think they did approach him, but I think his voice had just changed enough where they didn't feel like it was the same fit. But I felt immense pressure to do that as well as I could. And I hope I can continue to do that for a long time, because that's my favorite show that I've ever been a part of. X-Men 97 is, oh my God. Who's all seen it, by the way? Everyone? Okay, good. Beautiful. It's so good, and season 2 is amazing, and you're gonna love it. So yeah.
Hey there. What's your name and what's your question?
My name's Patty. My question is for Sean. I actually got to meet you in Calgary when you were there. And as much as I love you in Marvel, my question was, with Gilmore Girls, what was your favorite episode to film, and why was it the one that you got to run around naked with a pillow?
Well, I know that my public had been clamoring to see me naked with a pillow, and who am I to disappoint them? So of course, I needed to do that. In all honesty, my favorite episode was probably the Fiddler on the Roof episode where Kirk plays Tevye with all the 8-year-old children, which is just like, it's hilarious and absurd, but it's also kind of touching, and it's like, to me, it's kind of the show firing on all cylinders, where it's doing the best of what it does best.
My name's Alistair. I was wondering what your guys' favorite Marvel movies other than ones you've been in. Oh. Yeah.
I mean, I was definitely going to say Infinity War, because I feel like that's the best Marvel movie, hands down. But I'd say a very close second, I would say, would be Guardians of the Galaxy, the first one. That was revolutionary. Because it was fun, right? And it was just 2.5 hours of just pure fun. And I think that's why I loved it so much, but yeah.
I think my favorites are, I love the first Doctor Strange, and Iron Man, the first Iron Man that got it going, and Ragnarok. I think those are my favorites.
What's yours?
Careful.
I feel like Civil War.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one
probably.
too.
Yeah, nice. That's a great movie.
Also, you have the coolest name. You know that?
Thanks.
Are your parents here?
Yeah.
Tell them thank you for naming you the. Alistair is like one of the. Are you named after Alistair Crowley, by any chance?
No.
Okay, I'm hearing a laugh, so maybe no, yes? Okay. That's a cool name. That's a really cool name, yeah.
Thank you.
Of course, yeah.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks, Alistair. Hey there.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Matthew, and I have a question for Sean. Is there anything you can tell us about the upcoming DC projects, or what your 2 cents is on it?
Sure. I can tell you that Creature Commandos is coming out in December, which is the animated show, which I'm very psyched to share with an audience. Very excited. I'm about to start going and doing some sort of a promo tour for that. We're going to New York Comic Con with some of the cast, and we're going to introduce some stuff to some people there. The first trailer is already out, and I can tell you honestly, I think it's one of the best things I've ever done, and I think that I think people are really going to dig it. It's awesome. It's strange, and I do 2 voices on that show, so I'm very excited about that. And then the new DCU is kind of kicking in, and I can confirm that I'm playing Maxwell Lord in Superman, and perhaps some other places that we'll see in the DC universe. And I think Superman is awesome from the script that I read and from what I've seen. I love I think the actors are unbelievable, and it's just I'm excited. I'm excited for people to see it. I'm excited for Lanterns, which is the Damon Lindelof and Tom King are making lanterns for Max, which I think is I can't wait to see what happens there. And I think it's really cool. All these pieces they're all going to fit together into one larger sort of universe to tell one gigantic story over the coming years. And I'm excited.
I want to know, not just as an actor, but also as a brother, what was it like at the beginning for the full process of Guardians of the Galaxy, when at the time, that was the biggest risk the Marvel Cinematic Universe had done yet? Unless you're a hardcore superhero fan, no one had heard of Guardians of the Galaxy. So what was it like for, not just as an actor being a part of it, but as a brother seeing James take on this massive project that turned into be one of the most beloved Marvel movies ever?
Yeah, that's a great question, actually. And it was, you know, I know that there was a lot of fear before the first Guardians was made, particularly from my brother and from Chris as the lead and it being sort of his first lead, that if that movie bombed, it was going to be awful for their careers. It was really going to hurt. I felt from the very beginning, I was never confident that the movie would be as successful as it was, but I was always very confident that the movie was going to be very, very good, at least. That my brother was the right person for the job to take those characters and to tell that story. And so I knew going in, first of all, I knew what a maniac he was for detail, and for when he throws himself into a project, he is all in a way that, like, I think almost every artist who works with him aspires to be that committed to what they do all the time. And so I already knew that he had that kind of work ethic in him. But I knew from reading the script and seeing all the effort that was put into putting this movie together, I knew that it was going to be good and that it would find an audience that liked it. But I didn't know if that meant that it was going to be some kind of modest, under the radar, hey, this is a movie people find after a little while. I didn't know it was going to be some huge blockbuster. That part of it blew my mind. But I was always very confident that he was going to do a good job and that it was going to be cool. And from reading the script and then being on set and meeting the other actors and seeing what we were doing, within about, we shot for about 6 months. And I would say within about 3 weeks, we knew we were making something special.
You're in the next Superman movie that's coming up. Can you, if you see Nathan Fillion, tell him we want him at the con here? Because he's our favorite son. We have the Nathan Fillion Civilian Pavilion on White Ave. The Nathan Fillion Civilian Pavilion.
It's a couple of benches that's on like our kind of main drinking street. Out front of a print shop, there's a little sign. It's a whole thing.
Is he from Alberta?
He's from Edmonton.
He's from here.
I didn't know that.
I actually met him when I was in high school in the late 90s. He stopped by to see one of our teachers, and he was just did Saving Private Ryan, so that's when I met him.
He's the best. I will text him when we're done here on this panel and tell him to come do it.
Okay.
Hi, I'm Katarina, and my question's for Sean. I was wondering, Gilmore Girls, was there like a specific scene or plot line that you just hated?
I did not like, I hated wearing the hot dog suit because it was really uncomfortable.
There's never been a hot dog suit ever made that's comfortable to wear.
Yeah, and it's like, and the one that I wore on the show was like made out of plywood. And they dug it out of the Warner Brothers, the archives, and it's like, it probably had been around for decades.
Charlie Chaplin wore that hot dog suit.
And it just sat on my shoulders, like I'm holding it up, yes. Jesus. It was the worst. I didn't want to do that. So that was no good. There's a lot of things, like I had to learn how to walk on stilts, which wasn't the most fun, but now I can do it. Now I can walk on stilts, which is great. And on another note, the whole seventh season was tricky because Amy and Dan had left the show. And so when we changed showrunners, it made the final season, and the writers who stepped in did an amazing job, but they had a very, very hard task in front of them. And as a result, it always felt a little disjointed. It felt a little bit, the 7th season to me feels a little bit like, if you've ever seen The Fly, the David Cronenberg, The Fly, and she eats that piece of steak, and she's like, it looks like steak and it smells like steak, but it tastes wrong. It's not like steak. And that always feels like the 7th season of Gilmore Girls to me, that it wasn't quite right. There was something about the flavor of the show that was off.
Folks, thank you so much for coming to Edmonton Expo. We're so excited to have you. We're so sorry if we didn't get to your question.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
But you folks will be at your booths for autographs and questions later on as well, right?
Yeah, I'll be there for most of the rest of the day.
Amazing. So if you have anything you missed, these wonderful folks will be at their booths later. And thank you so much for coming, and enjoy the rest of your day here at Edmonton Expo.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Sean Gunn and Ross Marquand, everybody.